It's just always so great to have you, Kyle, and have you, Ben. You're amazing. That was a great little wake-up, wasn't it? Good morning. I hope you're all having a fabulous day. I'm Reverend Cece Coltrane, and welcome to Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Dayton. If this is your first time here, we extend a special welcome to you and thank you for spending your morning with us. If you will be good enough to fill out that little tear-off strip on your bulletin and drop it at the Welcome Center on your way out, that would be very helpful. We always just like to, be able to send you a thank you card for being here and a little Wednesday midweek pick-me-up, which you can always unsubscribe from. We will not do anything else with your email address, I promise. Let's see, this morning giving our reading and invocation is Stephanie Stewart, and our vigil holder is Lenza Smith. And Stephanie and Becky, would you like?
Yes.
Good. We'll offer our interfaith candle lighting, which is a reminder to us of all of the sources of wisdom and truth available through all the world's spiritual and religious traditions. Let's see, where's Teresa? There's Teresa. The kids with ages 5 through 10 are with Teresa this morning, and the tweens and teens are with us here in the service. So as you go over to find Teresa, we're just going to say a little blessing for these children, these wonderful, open, bright, light beings. So just know with me that our children are the places that God shows up unencumbered, free of this baggage that the rest of us might carry around, bright and open and real. And so we just give great thanks for them. We bless all that happens with them today, knowing joy, knowing learning, knowing opening, knowing that they give us the gift of their wise presence. So we say thank you. We let it be so. And so it is. Have a brilliant day, guys. Thank you for being here.
Have fun. We love you.
And so we get to hear now a really cool song called This Life Is For You.
We light the first candle in honor of the science of mind and spirit. The essence of all true religious philosophy is an inner realization of the presence of perfection within and around about. It is the hope of heaven, the voice of God proclaiming, I am that which thou art that which I am. We light the second candle in honor of Hinduism. This individual and subtle essence is the spirit of the whole universe. That is reality, that is truth, and you are that. We light the third candle in honor of Buddhism. Every sentient being, even an insect, has Buddha nature. The seed of Buddha means consciousness, the cognitive power, the seed of enlightenment. We light the fourth candle in honor of Christianity. The kingdom of God is inside of you and it is outside of you. Those who become acquainted with themselves will find it. And when you become acquainted with yourselves, you will understand that it is you who are the children of the living Father. We light the fifth candle in honor of Judaism. If the inner fire of the heart is kept burning continuously, it will extinguish all negativity. We light the sixth candle in honor of Taoism. The Tao is called the Great Mother. Empty yet inexhaustible, it gives birth to infinite worlds. It is always present within you. You can use it in any way you want. And we light the final candle in honor of Native American religions. The first peace, which is the most important, is that which comes within the souls of people when they realize their relationship, their oneness with the universe and all its powers, and when they realize that at the center of the universe dwells the Great Spirit, and that this center is really everywhere. It is within each of us. This is the real peace, and the others are but reflections of this. Today's reading comes from our founder, Ernest Holmes, in his book, Living the Science of Mind. First, let us begin with the thought that we are all united with an invisible force which is creative, and that we are already one with a universal mind which can do anything. Next, let us consider that we are centers within this mind, and that the sum total of all our thoughts is either silently attracting good to us or repelling it. And third, let us know that we can change our thinking, and in doing so, cause the law of good to act affirmatively for us instead of negatively. Will you take a few moments with me now to contemplate today's reading in silence? So here and now, in this place of peace and power, love and gratitude, I call our time together blessed. I know that all who are present together as this community, that we are a force, a creative force for good, and that we draw to us now all the good that is rightfully ours. I know that our children are a blessing and they bless us. I know that the band is a blessing and that they bless us, and that Reverend Cece stands before us as an absolutely open conduit, that the message that is hers to give today has something in it for each of us. And so I call our time blessed, and I give great thanks for it. And so it is.
First, I want to thank all of you who were here last week and participated in our community conversation. We got a lot of good ideas, and I'm very grateful for your participation. So you'll see a lot of those ideas showing up, and actually, because there's only one mind, a lot of the things that came up were already in the works, which is great. That means we're all thinking on the same level, right? And of course, like in any group of people, there were some people who liked this and other people who liked the exact opposite, and that always happens. And while we can't please everybody all the time, we are going to endeavor to meet people's needs as best we can. And I would invite you to please mark your calendars for February 25th, because we're going to have another community conversation. We want your input to answer the question, what is our why? What is our why? So we'll give you more information as that comes up, but we want to do that again. And one of the suggestions that came up is something that I've been kind of tinkering with and thinking about for a while, and that is to use some of the Sundays that we spend together to teach in more depth the how and why of the spiritual practices that we live by. During this year, y'all, if you didn't get the little booklet that we put together, there are some more over on the Welcome Center, I think, and there's some more in my office, so I'll get them. My sister, Reverend Molly of the Columbus Center, and I put together a little book of celebration and readings and affirmations for 2018, when we are celebrating 100 years of Science of Mind, 100 years of the existence of this philosophy as a public teaching. That 1917, I can't subtract for a minute, 1918 was when our founder, Ernest Holmes, went public in a big way and began teaching in Los Angeles. So built into that is a long examination in the middle of the year about affirmative prayer. We call it spiritual mind treatment because we're treating our minds to a different way of thinking, which is maybe our most powerful spiritual technology because it changes our minds and our feelings in the moment. And from time to time throughout the year, we'll focus on some of the other spiritual practices that are our mainstays, why we do them and how to do them better. And we're going to start today with that, which is maybe one of the simplest, with what might be one of the simplest spiritual practices, but is in my mind a very powerful one, and that is affirmations. And if you already do affirmations, wonderful. What I discover is that I always need a refresher. I always need a top-up and a reminder about what I'm affirming is what's always going through my head, right? So if it's not good, if it's destructive, if it's ugly, I best be changing it. Because there is still a lot of ugly stuff in our heads. And the why behind affirmations is simple. We are endeavoring to change what comes up out of our subconscious as our pattern of thinking. Our old patterns just come up automatically. You know, we run on automatic most of the time. And what is lodged in our subconscious just sort of plays itself on a loop for us automatically. So until we get down to beginning to change those deep patterns, the majority of our thinking remains unchanged. It's the deep patterns of our thinking that form the foundation for our beliefs. And what did Jesus tell us? It is done unto you as you believe. And so if you want new beliefs, the first thing that has to happen is that we have to change the pattern of our thinking. And affirmations are a simple and powerful way to do that. And then our beliefs begin to change, and then our life experience begins to change. In his book, Richer Living, our founder Ernest Holmes said, our mental attitudes are our most priceless possessions. No material security is actually secure, but the deep issues of our thoughts can make or unmake us. That's powerful. The deep issues of our thoughts can make or unmake us, because that's what creates our whole experience of life. What we're thinking about. And sometimes, you'll hear our little slogan, change your thinking, change your life, and it sounds too easy to be true. It's not. It's not too easy to be true. It is true, and it's simple, but it requires some diligent effort. It's not something you just say, and like a magic wand, boom, your thinking is new. It takes repeating new thoughts over and over and over again to create. What we're really doing is rewiring. We're creating a new set of neural connections. And then the new beliefs spring from that. And we have two very strong spiritual tools that help us do that. And the first one is reframing, and the second is affirmation. And reframing is simply, you find a new way to think about a situation in which you find yourself. Ernest Holmes said, rightly approached, positive thinking does not mean aggressiveness or the use of willpower, nor does it mean Pollyanna thinking, but rather a dynamic, affirmative attitude towards life. A dynamic, affirmative attitude towards life. And one of the ways we develop that is by reframing the situation we find ourselves in. Check our emotional condition, and if we're ticked off, or resentful, or unhappy, or whatever, we stop and say, what am I thinking about this situation, and how can I reframe it? I don't know about you, but I have this issue with traffic. Maybe it's just me, I don't know. But the old patterns of my thinking are, they're really ugly. I get in there and I'm like, you stupid, no, will you get out of my way? I can get really torqued out. And so what I've started to do is say, oh, wait a minute. I can do nothing about those cars in front of me. What else can I think about this situation? And I usually come down to, it's quiet, there's nobody around. This is a good moment to practice my affirmation. So I get after my spiritual practice a little, and all of a sudden I don't mind the traffic so much, and I'm certainly not yelling out the window at people any longer. Which I have done in the past. I'll admit it. It's a great opportunity to take a moment to reframe and maybe throw in some spiritual practice. Reframing is simply a way to remind yourself that the situation is not what your old thoughts say it is, that you are in charge, and you give it a new and more positive meaning. And one great way to do that is to practice affirmation, but not just any old affirmation. Affirmations that use certain kinds of words and that approach certain areas of thought are much more powerful than others. So we're going to go a little bit deeper with that today. We often will affirm that conditions are better. Conditions are better. But what would happen if we as a community instead began to affirm who we really are? Stop and consider for a minute what happens with, we affirm better conditions, and it happens, we affirm a better job, we pray in the perfect partner, we improve our health, whatever it is we do, we expand our thinking, we become nicer people, good things start to happen. But all of that stuff is still out there somewhere, isn't it? I mean, the job is out there somewhere, the partner is out there somewhere, all that stuff is sort of external. But what if instead we started to affirm that we are the source, that we are the divine, that's who we really are, that I am an incarnation of the Most High. If that were true, wouldn't it then be true that we are enough? That we have what we need? That we are the source of our own good? What if we were to begin all of our affirmations with the idea that I am connected with the source of all things, and therefore all that I seek is already mine? I am the place the divine wellspring of life shows up. Therefore, the source of all my good is right within me. If we were to do that, I wonder what would happen. I think life might be really different if we really ingrained that into our deep belief. The first thing I want to say about affirmations is that they have to be present tense. If we affirm that something will happen, or we will be the manifestation of God at some point in the future, or whatever it is, we keep pushing it out into the future. I will find my perfect partner. Well, you might, but it might not be till you leave this planet. I don't know, it'll be out there someday instead of now. And it needs to be now. It needs to be now. The second thing is the language we choose. It has to mean something to us individually. I can create an affirmation, it will fall flat for you. So each of us has to find the language that connects us with that source within, that connects us with the fact that it's happening now. And verb tense matters. If it has to be active and language that moves you, whether it does anybody else or not. What's the language that speaks to you? Like listen. I find a job that pays me adequately and is close to home. As opposed to, I find my dream job doing good work that brings me enormous satisfaction. I am lavishly compensated, and everything about my job is filled with joy and ease. Second one's a much better affirmation, isn't it? We have to find powerful language that means something to us. So, we use language that's powerful for us and active verbs. I am beautiful. I am prosperous. I am the place God shows up. And we always do it in first person, even when we're affirming for somebody else. Because what we're trying to do is change our minds, not theirs. We're trying to change our minds. Instead of Ernie is well and whole, it's I know wellness and wholeness for Ernie now. Because this is where we're doing this work, not in the other person's aura or whatever. When we do our affirmations in this way, then the resulting change in us is quite amazing. It really is. The first thing, but it takes a while and it has some stages. The first thing that always happens is, you see a really powerful affirmation and your mind says, what the heck are you talking about? I remember years ago, the first time I looked in the mirror and I said, you are absolutely beautiful. And my mind said, say what? And it started to go through all the old language that I've been carrying around about how I was ugly and too fat and not smart enough and not pretty enough and my nose was too wide and my eyebrows were blah, 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 blah. It just, what the heck are you talking about? And it just happened for a while. I just had to let it come up and remember that what that was an old thought pattern trying to stay alive. And I had to remember that the old thought pattern was not in charge of me, I was. I'm right here and right now, I'm in charge. And so I just kept saying it, and eventually there came a day when I looked in the mirror and I said, you are absolutely beautiful, and there was no voice telling me that I was wrong. I still felt uneasy and unsure, don't get me wrong, but I didn't hear those abusive voices anymore. And I didn't stop there. I kept saying it, and then one day my husband said to me, you get prettier and prettier every day. And I said, yeah, I do. I believed it. I believed it for the first time. And for me, that was a huge breakthrough because I had been abusing myself in the mirror for my whole life, right? By the way, I have a new affirmation now as I age because I have fresh old thoughts coming up. A new batch of old thoughts that say you're losing your beauty. So my new affirmation is I'm growing in beauty every day. I'm growing into a new kind of beauty as I age. I'm not losing anything, I'm getting something new. That's where I'm headed. That's where I'm headed. Present tense, powerful language, first person. And maybe as a community we should try this, affirming who we really are. That we are divine beings. We're the place the energy of spirit shows up. I wonder what would happen. Maybe we should experiment with it and see. We have to start somewhere. It might as well be with our identity, right? Some people like to say, I am a child of God. If that works for you, great. The child of God part doesn't work so well for me. And saying I am an adult of God is pretty awkward. So I like to start with, I am divine. Or God is showing up as me today, or something like that. Something that recognizes me as an adult and a part of the divine. And sometimes, for some people, when you pin it down and say, I embody divinity in all that I am, in all that I say, in all that I do, in all that I think, for some people that's very powerful. Find some language that speaks to you about your true identity, about that core of your being, that spark of divinity that lives within you. And present tense, first person, active verbs. Think about how you would individualize a statement like that for yourself. What would work for you? What starts right where you are, but works for you to move you forward a step or upward a step or however you want to think about it. A big step, but not so big it's impossible to make. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe you have to start with somewhere in me there's a spark of divinity. If so, that's okay. Maybe you need to start, maybe you're ready to start with, I am the place God shows up. Whatever it is. If you have habitual trouble with physical health, you could start there. I am the body of God. Or if you have financial issues, you could start there. I am source. Or I am part of the source of all things. Everything that I need is here. Or whatever it is. For me, it's energy, vitality, and clarity, because I have a whole new set of old thoughts about aging. From watching my parents say, you know, I'm tired. I have this idea that life makes you tired. And I don't want that. So mine is, if I am the embodiment of spirit, what need is there to be tired? I mean, I'm allotted 24 hours a day. We rest, we work, we recreate. I just want to spend that 24 hours vitally and in joy. And so my affirmation might be, God is all that I am. I embody divine energy and joy, and divine clarity, divine vitality in all that I do. What would your affirmation be? Think about it and write it down and say it multiple times in the morning, on your lunch break, in the bathroom, at night, particularly before you go to bed. It's this repeated introduction of a new thought that instills a new mental pattern that lifts us into a new belief that creates a new experience. And so if we want to be aware all the time that we really are the place the divine shows up, this is a really good place to start, because our old thoughts, as I say, circulate on automatic and negate what we say until we change the way we habitually think. And I'll tell you what, if you don't do it, nothing will change, right? If you do it until it works, until it sticks, you will change. Pretty soon you'll become a person with a different attitude about life. Ernest Holmes said, "The power and creativity that reside by nature in our thought are directed through the process of faith, which is based in the conviction that there must be a wholeness back of everything. Constructive affirmative thinking leads us to that wholeness, and faith in that wholeness is our key to the fruits of its action." So why don't we pick up that key and practice it together? Figuring out our own identity, reaffirming our own identity, coming to believe in our own identity individually and collectively. We are the place the divine shows up. So let's pray together. And in addition to ourselves and our center, we're praying today for Center for Spiritual Living Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Center for Spiritual Living Visalia, California. And so just join me in letting your awareness sink deeply within your own being, as we remember what we know to be true, that there's only one. You can call it God, you can call it Spirit, you can call it universal intelligence, you can call it anything that means something to you. The truth of it is there's only one. And it is that one that caused all the universe to come into being. And it is that one that is continually pushing out time and space so that it can expand itself into that newly formed time and space. It is the power that holds the universe together, the galaxies in their places and the planets in their orbits. And it is also the power that binds together the smallest subatomic particles and brings them together in such a way that they form cells and tissues and organs and life and beings and stars and air and everything. And that one power and energy and life and love shows up in all of its creation and in the spaces between creations. So that right where I am and right where each one of us is, that divine life, that spark, that intelligence, that power and wisdom and infinite unconditional love, it's right here. It's right here where we are. So that everything that we do is an expression of its life. And so right now I affirm for each one of us here a clearer, more concrete, more embodied acceptance and realization of that truth. We are the place the divine shows up. I know that for this community. I know it for us as individuals. I know it for all of us. And as a result of our embodiment of that truth, what I know is that our individual lives improve and that our community becomes even brighter alight. So that where people are seeking hope, they find us. Where people are seeking unconditional acceptance, they find us. Where people are seeking a place to knit themselves back together, they find us. Where people are looking for a place to celebrate the great ideas of the ages, they find us. And I know that because of that, we grow, we flourish, we shine. And I speak a word in this moment for both Center for Spiritual Living Tulsa and Center for Spiritual Living Visalia. I know for them, the freshness of growth, the freshness of expansion, the freshness of new relationships as they reach out into their communities, as they begin to grow, that their members are joyful participants in the lives of their communities, and that each community is evolving in perfection. Knowing this and claiming it, and knowing for each one of us the same perfection, I give thanks. I give thanks to all that is. I give thanks to this community, and I give thanks for life. And in deep gratitude, I simply release these words, knowing it's already done. The infinite law of mind says yes. The God of my understanding always says yes. And so we simply let it be and say together, and so it is.
I'm just a thread, a simple thread in this glorious web of life. We are all just drops within a stream flowing towards an ocean of life. We may forget where we come from. We may forget where we're going to. I might not see that you're a reflection of me as much as I'm a reflection of you. I am just a seed, a blessed seed with eternity unfolding in me. And I pray that as I grow, I will reveal the love that illuminates my soul. When I remember where I come from, when I remember where I'm going to, then I will see that you're a reflection of me as much as I'm a reflection of you. This is my simple prayer. May I become a reflection of the infinite one. This is my simple prayer. May I become a reflection of the infinite one. This is my simple prayer. May I become a reflection of the infinite one. This is my simple prayer. May I become a reflection of the infinite one.
Yes. We now have an opportunity to participate financially in this community and its life. We're here to help people deepen their relationships with Spirit and with each other and to live the lives they want to live. And so we exist solely because of your contributions and gifts. And so I hope you will give generously and affirm with me. I know the activity of abundance in my life.
I know the activity of abundance in my life.
And in this center,
And in this center,
I give and receive generously
I give and receive generously
from this flow of good.
From this flow of good.
And so it is. Lieutenant Dan, that was great.
Yeah.
He's really good on the guitar. Have you noticed?
Notice? Yeah.
Before I get to what's coming up, I want to tell you about something we're doing. A couple of months ago, we were invited to have a table at Sinclair College Multi-Faith Fair. So this next week, actually I guess it's a week from Monday, isn't it? Yeah. Stephanie and I are going. We'll be there talking to students about the center, and we will let you know how it goes. If any of you know about specific events we should have a presence like that at, particularly if you have contact information, please let us know. We would really appreciate it. And also every week I tell you about our spiritual practitioners who are available to pray with you after the service, which is their great joy. If there's something that you're having difficulty with, you just ask one of them, and they would love to spend a moment with you in prayer. But I also want you to know they do a lot more than that. They, if you're facing surgery or a medical procedure, they will pray you in beforehand. They will even go to the hospital with you and pray you in. Although sometimes at 4 in the morning, I've done it over the phone. When you have to go for those really, really early surgery appointments. But they will come and pray you in beforehand, and it makes a huge difference, believe me. People tell me all the time what a difference it makes to just have that kind of support before you go under the anesthetic. All you have to do is call the office or the prayer line. They also teach classes, and we have 3 really great classes coming up in February. Foundations of Science of Mind on Tuesdays and Essential Earnest Homes on Mondays. Becky Victor, who is an extraordinary teacher, will be facilitating both of those. They are great opportunities to begin to embody the philosophy of science of mind and spirit. And then on Thursdays, Jerry Blumgold will be facilitating Prosperity Plus, which is all about what prosperity is, which is way more than money. Prosperity is life satisfaction. And this class is about using all the mental powers that we don't often think about, like will and imagination and memory and the ability to envision, to change your life in that regard. There's a sign-up sheet over on the bulletin board for all those classes. And Angie Smith would like to tell you a little bit about her experience with the Foundations class, in case you're wondering what it's really all about.
Thank you. So my affirmation is I am a good public speaker and my voice will not crack when I do this. But I used to be one of these people that would come in the back door 3 or 4 years ago, and I'd sit in the back, and before service got over, I'd leave. And then I had this little voice that when they offered Foundations, take that class. I'm like, really? I don't have $100. Go take the class. Okay. So I took the class and I made some amazing lifelong friends. And it really got me involved in the community. And I remember saying, this place isn't people aren't very nice here. And I remember Lisa saying, well, what have you done to engage? And I'm like, oh, probably not a whole lot. I need to look in the mirror. So anyways, I went from the person that went to the back left to the chair of the board. I mean, come on. So that did change my life a little bit. So I would encourage you to take the class. Even if you've taken it before, you might need a refresher or just take it. It's good for your soul. You'll be glad you did. Thank you.
You're right, Angie. You're right. And the class is always, whether you're teaching it or taking it, is always a real heart and eye opener once again. As I said, sign-up sheets for all those classes are over at the Welcome Center. And this Thursday, February 1st, I cannot believe I'm saying that, but it's true, February 1st is Thursday. There is a discussion group facilitated by another practitioner, Stephanie Stewart, that offers a place for the exploration in a group of any questions about spirituality, of questions you have about whether God exists or what the meaning of something is or whatever. It's 7 p.m. right here in the sanctuary. Show up. I think you'll be glad you did. It's a great midweek pick-me-up. There are some other events going on, and so I would invite you to be sure to look at the back page of the bulletin that says calendar. Anything else that I need to be especially aware of? Social team, where is she? She must be counting and closing. I think we've covered it. So be sure to take a look in your bulletin, and be sure, after we sing our closing song, to give everybody around you a hug. Get your hugs for the day and give your hugs for the day. It's a very good thing to do. And introduce yourself to somebody you don't know. Get to know somebody a little bit better today. And thanks to everybody who made this morning happen. Our ushers and greeters, our welcome team, our practitioners, the musicians. Yay! Woo! Guys are really hot today. And all of you. And all of you. Let's stand for our closing affirmation, or our closing song, which is I am opening. Oh, I bet you know what this is. Please affirm with me. I embody divinity in all that I am.
I embody divinity in all that I am.
All I say,
All I say,
all I think,
all I think,
all I do.
all I do.
God is all that I am.
God is all that I am.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Have a fabulous week.